You've started a YouTube channel? Now what? I get it. You're probably overwhelmed with all the different options that you have available because if you're like me and over 40, actually over 50 because I'm 54, almost 55, we've experienced a thing or two in life, right? We may have had multiple jobs, different careers. We've done a lot of different hobbies and had a lot of experiences, whether it's been travel, it's having kids, grandkids, all the things, right? And when you have so many different things that you could talk about, it might become overwhelming and you may not know where to start. Plus, if you've heard YouTubers, including myself, that when you start a YouTube channel, you need to have your niche identified, right? You need to have your target audience. You need to know who you're talking to. And the thing with that is that's advice for someone who has a channel and has already tested the content. What do I mean by that? That means that when you first start your YouTube channel, you don't know what you don't know. And the first place for you to start is to just post content. And that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. There are easy and hard things about starting a YouTube channel, especially if you are a Gen Xer like I am. You could be a young boomer, you could be an older millennial. I typically work with women over 40, and the reason being is because they've got similar experiences as I do. They're in a similar age bracket as I am. They've got life experiences that I can help them tap into and help them understand what they can actually create on YouTube. If you're watching this video, that means that you might be trying to figure it out as well. We all start at the exact same place, and that's with 0 subscribers, 0 videos, 0 views, 0 likes. That's right, we all start at the very bottom. The important thing is establishing a foundation, and you can't establish a foundation until you know who's going to be attracted to your videos. So the best thing that you can do is just start creating videos, posting them, and see which ones others tend to like and which ones they don't, and that's going to help you identify what lane or what direction you should start heading in. Now you might be thinking, okay, but I'm still not sure. Okay, let's dive into this a little bit more. There are a lot of great things about where we're at in our life. We're in the second half, which means we've already been through the first half. That meaning that we have a lot of experience, whether it's in our career, it's in hobbies, we understand what we like, what we don't like. And the good thing about that is we have a lot of choices, right? That in itself is one place where you could start. So if you've worked in a career, you've worked in different types of industries, you've worked in different hobbies, you've done a lot of different things. If you don't like those, you have other ones that you can try. That's the one side. I am going to talk about the flip side, where you've got all of this experience and all these different choices, and it might have the opposite effect, where you get kind of stuck in that overanalyzing stage of, I've got all this experience and I don't know what to do with it. I don't know where to start, so I'm not going to start. So I'll talk about that here in a little bit, but I want to stay focused on this part, looking at what we have available to us and starting there. Now, if you've worked in a corporate environment, you've been an entrepreneur your entire life, whatever the case might be, you have experience. And that is something that you can lean into when it comes time to start your YouTube channel. That's one of the greatest things about where we're at right now in our life is that we have the experience. We have something that the younger generation just doesn't have because they're too young. And that's where we've got this benefit that we can share with the world. And you don't have to start a YouTube channel based on your career. It's one of the great things about being on YouTube is that there's something for everybody. And just understanding what you really like to do, what you're passionate about, what you want to talk about is really where you need to keep your focus. Now, you'll see me talking about YouTube as my business, but I enjoy that. That's what I do. Another thing I could talk about, which I absolutely love doing too, is I love watching movies. So I can very easily start a YouTube channel right now and start talking about the different movies I like to watch. And because we're in the biggest holiday season of the year, I could talk specifically about the different movies that are available this time of year, why they're only available, which ones are my favorites, which ones are traditional, what do I do like when I'm wrapping gifts, that sort of thing. So there's a lot that I could talk about. And it's not necessarily something that I do as my full-time job, but it is something that I could do because it's an interest of mine, and it's been an interest of mine my entire life. Having so much experience actually can be a blessing when it comes to starting your YouTube channel. Pick 3 or 4 things that you really enjoy and just create videos on them. Post them. They don't even have to be related. You could post one about if you like gardening, if you like traveling, if you like making jewelry, if you like making mixed drinks, whatever those things are, create videos for them, post them, and then see what happens. The thing is that you're going to post and share information about things that you enjoy. And then by you doing that and sharing it, that's going to help you understand who else likes what you are talking about. And by doing that, you're going to start to see which ones resonate with people in the YouTube universe. And when you start attracting those individuals, you're going to start to see a community develop. You might have a completely different mix of ages that you're attracting because of what you're talking about. If you're like me, where you're like, I don't really want to talk to 18-year-old YouTubers because I can't relate to them. Like I was one at one point, but I didn't have YouTube when I was 18. So I prefer talking with women over 40 who are interested in starting YouTube. But you may not know that until after you start creating your videos and actually sharing them with people to see what you enjoy. Another great thing about being our age and where we're at in our life is that we have more confidence in what we're doing than the younger generation does. The thing I've noticed over the last few years is that the older I get, the less I care about what other people think about what I'm doing and about how I'm doing it. That is also a benefit of our age. We have gone through the ringers. We've gone through the experiences. We've survived and gotten to this point in our lives where we can talk about it. We can talk about those experiences. And if you're like me, you've gotten to that point too, where you're just like, it's okay. If you don't agree with what I'm saying, if you don't like what I'm saying, there's a lot of different other channels. There's a lot of different other people out there who have a similar opinion of what you're looking for. So that means there are other options for those individuals, and that's okay. On the flip side of being where we're at in our life, like I mentioned at the very beginning, there's a flip side, right? There's a harder side to being where we're at in our life. And that being that we've got all this experience, you could get stuck in analysis paralysis. You might have all of these different things. Like I've worked in international sized companies, mid-sized companies, startup companies. I've worked in marketing, sales. I've been in different industries, started my own company. I've worked with different technologies. I've worked with products that are obsolete. I've worked with brand new technology like AI. Like I've touched on a lot of different things, and you probably have too. So you might be thinking, where do I begin? And that's where it comes down to just picking 3 or 4 things that you could at least start with. If for some reason those 3 or 4 things you don't enjoy talking about once you've talked about them, that's okay. You just leave them out there. But then you start creating content on maybe your next favorite 3 or 4 things, and find those things that you enjoy talking about and then sharing that with people. That's really going to help you attract your ideal community, your ideal customers, your target audience based on what you enjoy talking about. That's really what matters first and foremost, because if you don't like what you're talking about, then it's going to show, and that's not going to attract people. Another thing that might be more difficult for us in the Gen X, early boomers, late millennial generation is that we may not be as familiar with the technology. So creating a video and then uploading it to YouTube, you might be thinking, okay, I've got my camera, which is what I'm using right now to record this video, in a tripod. You have everything that you need right now to record video. But then you're like, okay, well, I've recorded a video. It's the uploading to YouTube part that is terrifying me. And I actually have a process, and there's a free checklist that I'll include in the description where it walks you through every single step of what you need to do when you're ready to upload your YouTube video. That will be really helpful for you if that's where you're stuck and that's what's holding you back from actually getting started. Now, the things that you might want to talk about. Obviously, the number of topics is unlimited, right? But based on where we're at in our lives right now, some popular topics, or at least some places to start thinking about, are where we're at. Like I mentioned earlier about being an empty nester. That's something that I think really needs to be talked about, because not a lot of people talk about like the feelings and emotions that go along with being an empty nester. Like we've heard the term before, right? Empty nester, and we know what it means, but there's a lot behind it that I don't really know that anybody's talking about. The emotions tied to it, what that means for the family dynamics, what it means for you, and what you can start doing with your life at this point moving forward, which is going to be completely different than when you had kids. Even if you're talking about traveling, it's going to be different if it's just you, if it's you and your partner versus you and your kids. Another thing that you could talk about is retirement or finance. If you're not ready yet to retire and you're still working either at your corporate job or you're working with your own company, you could be talking about at what point you started saving money. At what point did you start thinking about retirement? What does that look like? What are some things that you did to prepare for your retirement? What did you invest in? Was it 401ks? Think of different ways that you've leveraged your income over the years in order to prepare for where you're at right now, and then what that looks like moving forward. Every situation is going to be different for each person, and that's why if you're like, no, there's all these other people talking about that. True, but nobody's talking about it the way that you can, and that's where your magic is brought to YouTube, because there's only one you. Another fun example of what you could talk about in this stage of our lives, whether you're a Gen Xer, you're a young boomer, or you're an older millennial, is being a grandparent. There are ways that you could talk about it, from what activities you do with your grandkids. Do you take them traveling? Do you do it as a big family? It's just a completely different dynamic that maybe there aren't a whole lot of people talking about that, but let's say that there are. Nobody's going to have the same spin on it like you're going to. Another thing that you could start talking about are your hobbies. If you like gardening, if you like floral arrangements, if you like making jewelry, if you're a mixologist, maybe you're doing non-alcoholic mixology. That's a completely different one that's probably going to be really popular because more and more people are giving up alcohol and realizing the benefits of that. So looking at the different things that you enjoy doing and are already doing, you don't have to start something completely new. YouTube just becomes an outlet for that creativity and for you sharing the knowledge and experiences that you already have and creating a whole new opportunity of experiences for you through a digital platform like YouTube provides. Here's the final point. Just start. There is no perfect video. There is no perfect time. There is no such thing as perfection. All it is right now is about making the decision that you want to do this and then actually doing it. Posting those first few videos are going to be terrible. That's okay. That's how we all started. All of our first videos were terrible. The most important thing in that direction is to look at what you can do better next time, and just look at it as, how can I make the next video better? Not focusing so much on all the critiques. In fact, focus on all the things that you did well, and then focus on like one thing that you need to do better next time, and then do that. And you'll start to see that over time your videos do get better and better, but you're not going to be able to go through that process unless you actually get started. If you do need help getting started, I've got a checklist in the description that you can download. It's completely free, but it will walk you through all the steps that you need to get started with your YouTube channel, from the very beginning of creating a Gmail address all the way through of publishing your videos. That might be something of interest to you. If so, go ahead and click the link and download it now. If you're like, nah, I got this, you want to watch this video next, where I walk you through all the steps that you need to take in order to make sure that your video is fully optimized on YouTube from the very beginning. And it has to do with before you even publish your video. Check it out now.